It was late evening on the Interstellar Exchange campus. The hallway outside Jalen's room was quiet, except for the soft hum of distant machines and a few quiet footsteps from passing students. Jalen sat on his bed, reading a book from Earth. The warm light of his lamp made the room feel peaceful, like a small piece of home in this strange alien place. Suddenly, someone knocked on his door. The sound was gentle, 2 soft taps, and then silence. Jalen stood up slowly, a little surprised. He wasn't expecting anyone. Most of his classmates were already in their rooms, and he hadn't made many friends yet. Being the only human in the building made him feel like an outsider. He opened the door. Standing there was Zaria, his alien classmate. Her skin was smooth and silvery blue, her eyes large and glowing softly in the dim light. 2 small tendrils, like antennae, moved slightly near her forehead. She wore the academy's uniform, but the way she stood, tense, unsure, was different tonight. "Zaria," Jalen said, blinking. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped into his room slowly, her eyes scanning every corner. Then her gaze landed on something around Jalen's neck. It was a simple necklace, a round pendant made of dark stone, hanging on a thin cord. His grandmother had given it to him before he left Earth. He never took it off. Zaria's eyes widened. She stopped moving. Her body froze completely, as if she had seen something terrifying or unbelievable. Even her tendrils stopped twitching. "Zaria?" Jalen asked again, this time more carefully. "What is it?" She didn't blink. She stared at the pendant, her mouth slightly open. Then she whispered something in her language. Jalen didn't understand the words, but her voice was shaking. "What's wrong?" he asked, stepping closer. "It's just a pendant, a family thing." Zaria finally looked into his eyes. Her voice was low but serious. "That symbol, it is not from Earth. It is ancient, from my world." Jalen looked down at the pendant. "What do you mean?" "It's just something my grandmother gave me." "No," she said, backing up a step. "That mark, it belongs to the lost houses. It is forbidden." Jalen's heartbeat quickened. Lost houses. She nodded slowly, then glanced toward the hallway, as if someone might be watching. "I should not be here. No one can know I saw this." "Zaria, wait," Jalen said, but she was already moving toward the door. Before leaving, she looked at him one last time. Her voice was quiet but full of meaning. "This changes everything, Jalen. Be careful." And with that, she disappeared into the hallway, leaving Jalen standing alone, his pendant suddenly feeling much heavier than before. Jalen couldn't sleep that night. He kept looking at the pendant in his hand. It didn't feel like just a simple gift anymore. Zaria had looked so scared and serious. How could something from Earth be connected to her world? The next morning, he saw her in class. She avoided his eyes. Every time he tried to speak to her, she turned away. It was like she didn't want anyone to know they had talked. After class ended, Jalen quickly followed her down the hall. "Zaria, wait," he called. "We need to talk." She stopped but didn't turn around. "Not here," she said. "Too many eyes." They walked in silence to a small garden behind the academy building. The garden was quiet, hidden, and peaceful. Strange glowing plants lined the path, and a few alien birds chirped softly in the trees above. Zaria finally faced him. "Why did you come to my room last night?" Jalen asked. She took a breath. "I needed help with the physics assignment. I thought, maybe you could explain it better. But then I saw your pendant. Everything changed." Jalen held the pendant up. "What is this?" "Really?" Zaria looked around to make sure no one was nearby. Then she spoke in a low voice. "This symbol," she pointed to the carved mark on the stone, "belongs to one of the ancient houses from my homeworld, Zeveran. These houses disappeared thousands of years ago. The history was erased. Only whispers and warnings remain. But why would my grandma have it?" Jalen asked, confused. She got it from her mother, and she was born on Earth. Zuriya stepped closer. Maybe your people and mine were connected in the past. Maybe this proves it, but no one will believe us. And if the wrong people find out. She didn't finish the sentence. Jalen frowned. You mean it's dangerous? Zuriya nodded. The symbol you wear is banned. If the Academy finds out, they might think you're part of a rebellion, or worse. That's crazy. I'm just a student. I didn't even know what it meant. They won't care, she said softly. There are groups who fear the return of the old houses. They fear what the truth might reveal. Jalen looked down at the pendant again. It didn't look dangerous. But now, it felt like a key to something much bigger. What should I do? He asked. Keep it hidden. And don't tell anyone else. I'll help you find out more, but only in secret. He nodded slowly. Okay, I trust you. Zuriya gave a weak smile. Then we both need to be careful. We've just opened a door that was meant to stay closed. As they left the garden together, neither of them noticed the small floating drone high in the tree branches, its tiny red light blinking. They were already being watched. The next few days felt strange for Jalen. Everywhere he went, he had the feeling someone was watching him. He kept the pendant hidden under his shirt, just like Zuriya told him. But the weight of it felt heavier now, not just around his neck, but on his mind. Zuriya acted normal in public. She smiled in class, answered questions, and stayed away from Jalen when others were around. But late in the evening, she would send him short messages using a secure school tablet. Meet me at the old observatory. Midnight. The observatory was on the edge of the academy, no longer used. A broken dome, cracked walls, and dusty floors made it the perfect place for secrets. That night, Jalen put on a coat and quietly left his room. He followed the path through the gardens and up the hill. The air was cold, and stars filled the sky above. Some bright, some strange. They weren't the same constellations he had grown up seeing on Earth. Zuriya was already there, waiting inside the dark observatory. She held a glowing datapad and had a serious look on her face. I found something, she said as Jalen stepped in. What is it? She showed him an old document, written in her native language. The translator program turned it into readable English. The words shocked Jalen. The bridge shall carry the memory. When the symbol returns, the silence shall end. What does it mean? Jalen asked. Zuriya looked nervous. It's part of the Lost House's prophecy. The bridge is believed to be someone who connects the past to the present, someone who can awaken the truth. You think that's me? Jalen asked, his heart beating faster. I don't know, but the pendant matches the one described in the old records, and you're the only human I've ever seen with it. Jalen sat on the cold stone floor, trying to think. Why was this prophecy hidden? Because it scares people, Zuriya said softly. If the old houses return, the current leaders could lose power. They erased history to stay in control. Suddenly, a sharp beep came from Zuriya's datapad. Her eyes widened. What is it? Jalen asked. We're being tracked, she whispered. This place is no longer safe. Before they could leave, the door behind them creaked open. A tall alien figure stepped in, dressed in black robes, with a silver badge shining on their chest. You two shouldn't be here, the figure said in a cold voice. Zuriya quickly hid the datapad behind her back. Jalen stood up slowly, trying to stay calm. We were just. Silence, the figure said. Come with me. Now. Zuriya and Jalen looked at each other. This wasn't just about a pendant anymore. They had touched something deep, something powerful, and someone didn't want them to go any further. As they followed the stranger into the night, Jalen knew one thing for sure. He was no longer just a student. He was part of something much bigger. Jalen and Zuriya followed the tall-robed figure through the dark corridors of the academy. No one else was around. The halls were silent, too silent. The man said nothing as he walked, his boots echoing on the metal floor. They stopped in front of a small door that Jalen had never seen before. The symbol on it looked familiar. It matched part of the design on Jalen's pendant. The figure placed his hand on the panel, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a small room filled with old screens and blinking lights. It didn't look like part of the modern academy. It felt older, forgotten. "Sit," the man said. Jalen and Zaria sat in the metal chairs. The man removed his hood. His face was wrinkled, his eyes sharp, and his skin a pale gray blue. He looked at them for a long moment before speaking. "My name is Varun. I am one of the last keepers of memory." Zaria looked surprised. "I thought the keepers were gone." "We were told to disappear," Varun said. "But a few of us stayed, waiting for a sign. Last night, I got an alert. An ancient symbol was activated. Your pendant triggered it, human." Jalen touched the stone around his neck. "Why me?" "Because you carry the blood of the old ones," Varun said. "Your kind was not always strangers to the stars." Jalen blinked. "You mean humans were part of space history before?" Varun nodded. "Long ago, before records were erased, humans and Zavarians stood together. But when the houses fell, everything was hidden. Now you are the first human to awaken the signal." Zaria leaned forward. "Is it true then? The prophecy?" Varun looked at her. "Yes. And if the council finds out, they will destroy everything. Jalen, the pendant, and anyone who helps him." Jalen felt a chill. "Then why did you bring us here?" "Because I want to help you," Varun said. "But you must be careful. There are already whispers in the halls. People are watching. You two must not be seen together in public anymore. Work in secret. Find the truth." Zaria nodded. "We understand." Varun reached into a drawer and handed Jalen a small device. "This will help you read locked archives in the library's restricted zone. But don't get caught." Jalen took the device. "Thank you." Varun stood. "Go now. Pretend this meeting never happened." As they stepped back into the hallway, the door vanished behind them. Just a smooth wall now. No sign of the secret room. Zaria whispered, "Do you think we can really uncover the truth?" Jalen looked at the device in his hand. "We have to try." Neither of them noticed the figure standing at the end of the hall, half hidden in the shadows, silently watching them walk away. The game had begun. The next day, Jalen walked into the academy library like nothing had happened. He smiled at the librarian, waved at a few classmates, and acted normal. Inside, though, his heart beat faster with every step. The small device Varun had given him was hidden in his pocket. He made his way to the far back corner of the library, where the oldest shelves were. Few students ever came here. Dust covered the books, and the lights flickered above. Zaria was already waiting, pretending to read a thick science manual. She nodded slightly as he sat across from her. "Ready," she whispered. Jalen took out the device. It looked like a tiny cube, dark metal with faint symbols on its sides. When he placed it on the table, it lit up and projected a small screen into the air. A map of the library appeared, but there was something strange on it. A blinking dot far below the surface. "That's underground," Jalen whispered. Zaria pointed. "There's no door on this floor that leads there, but I've heard rumors about an old access tunnel behind the language archives." They didn't waste time. Together, they moved quietly past rows of books until they reached a wall covered with shelves full of forgotten scrolls and digital records. Behind a tall stack of boxes, they found it, a narrow door with no handle. Jalen touched the device to the wall. It beeped once. The door slid open. A dark tunnel stretched before them, lit only by dim blue lights that flickered like dying stars. "Let's go," Jalen said. They stepped inside and followed the tunnel down. It twisted and turned, going deeper and deeper below the academy. The air grew colder. The walls were lined with old metal, cracked and rusty in places. Finally, They reached a large circular door. In the center of it was the same symbol from Jalen's pendant. Without a word, Jalen pulled out the pendant and pressed it against the door. A loud click echoed. The door slowly opened with a low rumble. Inside was a huge chamber filled with glowing orbs floating in the air. Strange machines lined the walls, and in the center was a round platform with carvings that looked both alien and familiar. Zaria gasped. This is a memory vault. Jalen stepped forward. The pendant began to glow faintly. As he approached the platform, one of the orbs floated toward him. A voice filled the chamber, calm and ancient. "Welcome, Bridge. Memory access granted." Suddenly, images appeared in the air. Humans and Zavarians standing side by side, fighting together, building cities among the stars. Zaria's eyes were wide with wonder. "This proves it," she whispered. "Your people were part of everything, and they'd erased it." Jalen looked at the glowing orb. "Then it's time we bring the truth back." But far above them, back in the library, a silent alarm had been triggered. Someone now knew they had entered the forbidden place. Jalen and Zaria stood silently in the middle of the glowing chamber. The floating orbs still showed moving images, scenes from the past. Humans walking beside aliens, building great towers, defending planets, sharing knowledge. Jalen felt like he was dreaming. So Earth wasn't alone after all. "No," Zaria whispered. "Your people were part of the old alliance. You just forgot." Suddenly, one of the machines near the wall came to life. A soft hum filled the air. From its center, a tall figure formed, made of light and energy. It had no face, but it wore long glowing robes, and its voice was calm and deep. "I am the archivist. I protect memory." Zaria stepped forward. "Can you tell us what happened? Why was the truth hidden?" The archivist turned slowly toward them. After the fall of the Great Alliance, powerful leaders chose silence over truth. They feared chaos, so they destroyed records, removed symbols, locked away history. "But why me?" Jalen asked. "Why is this pendant reacting to me?" "Because you carry the bloodline of the ancient bridges, humans who had the gift to awaken memory. Only their presence can unlock the vaults." Zaria looked at him with wide eyes. "That's why the pendant came to you. Your family has a link." Jalen nodded slowly. "My grandmother always said it was special. I never understood why." Suddenly, the chamber lights dimmed for a moment. A warning appeared in the air. "Unauthorized entry detected above. Surveillance activated." Zaria turned to Jalen. "Someone's coming. They know we're here." The archivist's voice became urgent. "You must leave now. Take the core memory with you. Protect it." A small orb floated toward Jalen and gently entered his pendant. The stone flashed once, then returned to normal. Zaria grabbed his hand. "Let's go." They ran back through the tunnel, their footsteps echoing louder than before. The door behind them began to close, but not fast enough. Just as they reached the top, 2 security officers were already inside the library. "Stop," one shouted. Jalen and Zaria turned and dashed down a side hallway. They didn't stop until they reached the science wing, where they ducked into an empty classroom and locked the door behind them. Both were breathing hard. "That was close," Jalen said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Zaria leaned against the wall. "They know now. The council will come for us soon." Jalen looked at the pendant. "Then we have to move first. We have the proof. We can't let them bury it again." "But how?" she asked. Jalen's eyes narrowed. "We show everyone. We reveal the truth." Zaria stared at him, surprised by his courage. "You really are a bridge," she said quietly. Outside in the hallway, soft footsteps passed by, searching, hunting. The secret was no longer safe, and the countdown to exposure had begun. The next morning, the academy was buzzing with strange energy. Whispers filled the halls. Students stared at Jalen as he passed, Some looked curious, others afraid. He met Zaria near the garden wall where they first spoke in secret. Her face was pale, her voice tense. "They know your name now," she said. "The council called for you." Jalen didn't speak right away. He knew this moment would come. "Do they know everything?" he asked. "Not yet, but they know you entered the lower vault. They think you're a threat." Jalen nodded. "Then we don't wait. We tell the truth before they tell lies." Zaria looked at him, unsure. "Are you sure? If we speak publicly, they might arrest us. I'd rather stand for something real than hide in fear." Later that day, Jalen walked into the Grand Assembly Hall with Zaria at his side. The chamber was large and shaped like a dome, filled with glowing seats and holographic displays. The council members sat above on a raised platform, each dressed in dark robes with golden lines. "Human student," one of the members said, "you are accused of accessing forbidden zones, stealing historical data, and awakening ancient machines without permission. Do you deny these charges?" Jalen stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong. "No, I don't deny it, because I didn't steal anything. I uncovered the truth." The room became silent. Zaria stood beside him. "We found a hidden chamber under the library, a memory vault. It showed proof that humans were once part of the ancient alliance. The pendant Jalen wears activated the system." The council murmured among themselves. One member stood. "This is dangerous talk. These are old myths. They were buried for a reason." Jalen took a deep breath and lifted the pendant. The orb inside glowed. He tapped the stone once, and the projection filled the room, showing scenes from the ancient past. Humans and Zavarians together, fighting, building, surviving. Gasps filled the room. "This," Jalen said, "is not a lie. It's real history. You chose to forget it, but not anymore." An older council member rose slowly. Her face was filled with conflict. "If this is true, it changes everything." "Then let it change," Jalen said. "Let people know who we are, where we came from, and what we can be together." The room was quiet again. Then a few claps echoed from the back. A teacher. Then another. A student. The sound grew louder. But some council members looked angry, their faces dark with fear. Zaria leaned close and whispered, "We made our move. Now we wait to see who stands with us." Outside, more drones began flying through the sky, recording, watching. The truth had been released, and the galaxy had heard its first whisper of the past. That night, the Academy campus didn't sleep. Every screen, every device, every communication network was buzzing with the ancient images Jalen had shown in the Grand Assembly Hall. The truth had spread across the stars. People from different planets were talking, asking questions, and demanding answers. But not everyone was happy. The council was angry. They ordered Jalen to be placed under temporary restriction for disrupting the order. Zaria was banned from all public areas. Guards were placed near her building. The Academy claimed it was for safety, but everyone knew it was punishment. Jalen sat alone in his room, staring at the glowing pendant in his hand. A quiet knock broke the silence. It was Zaria. "How did you get past the guards?" he asked, surprised. "I climbed through the old vent near the kitchen," she said with a small smile. "You're not the only one who takes risks now." Jalen laughed softly, then turned serious. "They're going to shut everything down, maybe even erase the memory vault. That's why we have to act now," Zaria said. "We need to escape the Academy and reach the outer network. If we can send the core memory to the Galactic Records Archive, they won't be able to hide it anymore." Jalen nodded. "But we'll need help." They quickly made a plan. Zaria contacted an old friend, Lukar, a tech-savvy alien from the planet Trinak. He had access to a stealth ship parked just outside the campus security wall. All they had to do was get to it without being caught. Later that night, Jalen and Zaria dressed in plain worker uniforms and moved carefully through the shadows. Lucar met them near the loading dock. "You two really shook the galaxy," he said, grinning. "Let's finish the job." They moved fast, but not fast enough. As they reached the outer gate, alarms blared across the campus. "They found us," Zaria shouted. "Keep running," Jalen yelled. Security bots appeared behind them, flying low and fast. Red lights flashed, and warnings echoed across the air. Lucar unlocked the ship doors. "Get in." They jumped inside just as a stun blast hit the ground behind them. The door closed, and the ship lifted off. Inside, Jalen sat down, breathing hard. Zaria clutched the pendant tightly in her hand. "Do you have the signal ready?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "I'm sending the core memory to every open archive across the network." She pressed the button. The ship's screens lit up. Dozens of transmission lines blinked as the message spread like fire. "It's done," Zaria said. "The truth is free now." Jalen looked out the window at the stars. He had come here as just a student. Now he was part of something much bigger. And it was only the beginning. The stealth ship flew through the starry sky, leaving the academy far behind. Inside, the air was tense but full of hope. Jalen sat beside Zaria, watching the transmission signals blink across the ship's console. "It's working," Lucar said from the pilot's seat. "The message is reaching every major planet in the galactic network. News stations are already talking about it." Zaria smiled, her eyes glowing softly. "They can't stop it now. The truth is out." Jalen looked down at the pendant in his hand. It no longer felt heavy. It felt alive, like a piece of something that had waited thousands of years to return. "Do you think people will believe it?" he asked. "They already are," Zaria said. "Some leaders are denying it, but others are calling for peace talks, for research, even for public access to hidden records." Jalen leaned back and let out a deep breath. "We did it." But then a sharp beep interrupted the moment. Lucar frowned. "Incoming ship. Fast. No ID." A red dot appeared on the screen, heading straight toward them. "They found us," Zaria said, standing up. "We have to move." Lucar pushed the ship into high-speed mode. Stars turned into streaks as the ship sped through space. But the enemy ship kept following. Suddenly, a bright light flashed across the console. "It's a signal," Lucar said, confused. "From the memory vault high." A message appeared on the screen. "Final key detected. Activate full memory stream." Jalen's pendant glowed brightly. "What does that mean?" he asked. Zaria's eyes widened. "There's more. The vault wasn't just a storage of images. It holds full knowledge. Culture, science, lost technology. But it needed the final key. You." The pendant lifted from Jalen's chest and floated in the air. Light shot from it, surrounding the ship. The screens turned gold, and the ship slowed down. The enemy ship stopped too, caught in the field of energy. A giant projection appeared above them. An ancient voice echoed through the ship. "To those who carry the blood of the old alliance, welcome home." Images of planets, forgotten cities, powerful inventions, and peaceful councils filled the air. "This is incredible," Jalen whispered. Zaria looked at him with wonder. "You didn't just share the past. You've reawakened it." Outside, the chasing ship powered down. Its crew watched the projection too, stunned and silent. Across the galaxy, the same message played in different languages. Children and elders, humans and aliens, all saw the same truth. They were once united, and maybe they could be again. Jalen reached out and held Zaria's hand. "This is bigger than us now," he said. She nodded. "But it started with us. And that means something." In the dark, cold space between stars, a new light had been born, not from weapons or war, but from memory, truth, and two brave students who refused to stay silent. A week had passed since the memory signal was sent across the galaxy. Everything had changed. On news channels, people were no longer talking about war or politics. They were talking about the old alliance, about humans and Zavarians, and the truth that had been buried for thousands of years. Some leaders still tried to deny it, but too many had seen the proof. The memory couldn't be erased now. Jalen and Zaria had become known across many worlds. Not as heroes, but as truth-bringers. They had risked everything to show the galaxy what it had forgotten. Now, they stood together at the Galactic Unity Forum, held on a neutral space station that hovered peacefully between many planets. Delegates from different species had gathered. Some curious, some cautious, but all were listening. A stage was set at the center. Jalen was nervous, but Zaria stood beside him, calm and steady. "You're ready," she whispered. Jalen nodded. He stepped up to the podium. Lights shone on him. Cameras recorded every word. "When I came to the academy," Jalen began, "I was just a student from Earth. I didn't know much about this galaxy. I didn't know anyone. I felt small." He paused, holding up the pendant. "But then my alien classmate stepped into my room and saw this. A symbol, a piece of our shared past." Zureda joined him on stage. Her voice followed his. "We were told to forget, told to fear, but memory is not the enemy. Truth is not a weapon. It is a bridge." Jalen smiled. "We don't need to go backward. We can move forward, together, not as enemies, but as something greater." The hall was silent for a long moment. Then someone stood, an elder from a distant world. He began to clap. Others joined. One by one, the entire hall stood, clapping, cheering, some even wiping away tears. The first true step toward galactic unity had been taken. Later, Jalen and Zaria walked alone in the garden of the station. Stars sparkled above them, and small lights floated among the flowers. Zaria turned to him. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't come to your room that night?" Jalen laughed softly. "I probably would have finished reading my book and gone to sleep." She smiled. "Instead, we changed the galaxy." Jalen looked up at the stars. "You know, maybe this was always meant to happen. Maybe the pendant found me because it knew I'd meet you." Zaria touched his hand gently. "And maybe we're only just beginning." They stood together under the stars, not as a human and an alien, but as friends, as partners, and as two beings who reminded the galaxy that truth, courage, and connection could light the darkest parts of the universe. And somewhere, far beyond, the stars whispered back,